second last one is user stories. So user stories are a really common thing in software engineering. They're written requirements, but they're customer driven. So they define what customers are looking to get. And we can do these on paper cards, on spreadsheets, or you'll learn later today what a Kanban piece of software is. Some of you haven't been exposed to that. Alex is going to show you that this afternoon. And so we can put these user stories we can write them in a range of ways. So user stories, these are an extension again of those tasks that we did in the actor analysis. So what are some of the things in user stories? Well, they're typically written in this format. As a type of user, I want some goal so that some reason. Now, the Curry example I'm going to give you is a little bit frivolous here, but it is actually, I want to pick out the key aspects. This is the user, this is what they want to do, and this is the reason why. And oftentimes we don't give developers the reason why. And developers are actually really smart people. Like, they are very high IQs, and giving them the context of what you're trying to achieve, they can often use their intuition to say, but hang on, they'll raise problems, they'll flush stuff out. And so this is the standard format that we use for user stories. Here's another one. As a Curry lover, I want to change my order because I'm indecisive. Some tips around user stories. We want to be concise. They are a contract for a conversation. Some people write their user stories and think it's the only chance that I'm going to have to talk to my developer. The goal of a user story is we get the gist of it down, and that each developer, before they start working on it, and we're going to talk about sprints and other things, would have a conversation with the client, and that we would confirm, okay, tell us about this user story, what are we trying to do? It is a contract to talk about something. Who writes them? Anyone can write these. So clients can write them, developers can write them, project managers can write them, business analysts can write them. When are they written? Oftentimes they're written at high levels at the start of the project, but they're generally written throughout the process. You'll often write user stories all the way through. So, a couple of other bits of sort of lingo, just so that, because this lingo will come around in the industry, and I think it's good to kind of demystify some of the lingo. There's a thing called an epic. But an epic is a large story that's going to need to be broken up. So if you look at it and you go, look, I want to do these bits and pieces, then I've got this big thing over here. You can write a single user story for the epic, and oftentimes we'll put that into our backlog in planning, and then when we get to it, we'll actually break an epic down. So an epic is just a large story that's going to need to be broken down. The last piece about user stories is that is acceptance criteria. So we want to say, what are the things that need to be true? How's this going to be tested against? So orders are only accepted from people whose IOUs are under $30 is an acceptance criteria in the Curry ordering system. Orders are only acceptable from people whose IOUs are less than 4 weeks old is an acceptance criteria. And order changes are rejected after 11 a.m. or you can't make them. My last method, one more tip and then we'll take a morning break. The last piece is wireframes and sketches. Now, a lot of people actually want to start here. And I would always at least start with an actor analysis, because these typically take longer to create, and they are generally the culmination of the other work that you've done. You've often done the analysis on the other bits and pieces, and those other techniques, you can do them pretty quick. Like, you can actually sit down and go, right, who's my actors? What are they going to do? Where do they sit? Right, yep, I've thought about that one. You can often go through these at reasonable speed. Creating wireframes and sketches takes a little bit longer, but they're really important. I would say our rate of arguments with clients dropped by half. No one wants to have arguments with your clients when we started putting stuff in pictures, because it flushed out so many differences in what people thought. They tie everything together, and you can also use them to test solutions. So we talked about that in the MVP space. They flush out misunderstandings. And in terms of, a lot of people are embarrassed to do these on pen and paper. It doesn't matter if you can't draw. Pen and paper is actually really good, and I'll show you some examples of that in a moment. Another thing you can do is, a lot of people feel comfortable in PowerPoint or Keynote or presentation software. You can often do these in Keynote, and we've done that. There's a tool called Balsamiq Mockups that's quite easy to use. So if you're wanting to create these, that works well. And if you're able to use drawing software, then drawing software works. Let me show you. These are the real mock-ups for the Content Samurai product. We firstly created these. That is the first version of Content Samurai, about just coming up 2 years ago. We then drew this. And again, I wouldn't do this for clients because clients would be embarrassed and feel like they didn't get value out of it. We weren't trying to impress anybody. We just wanted to get the learnings that we could. And so we put these up, we got people to review them, people to look at them. And we actually put these, Google offers a free presentation tool called, I think, Google Slides. It's like PowerPoint, but the Google version of it. The beauty of it is you can share it and you can comment on it. So if you've got a team and you want to get someone to put it up, everyone can go to town commenting on it, and it's free. It's really good. So we had, these are the comments written in October 13, 2014 by Eugene. This is actually what he said. That's Anthony, who's the product owner's position, and these were his feedback, and these are just screenshots I took from it. Then we put it into some drawing software. It still doesn't look super polished, but it's starting to look a lot better. And this is as the process moved towards the end. But as you can see, I'll go back one, it's actually the same stuff. We just evolved it further. And these are the latest versions that we're using at the moment. This is actually the way the product looks and does a range of bits and pieces. And so you can see it started out pretty ugly. Over a series of interviews, we got a heap of feedback, and I don't want to build this stuff to get the early feedback. Because early on, if I show people this, it's worse. The reason it's worse is people are judging my graphic design. They're not judging the functionality of the software. And I need them to judge the functionality more than they judge the graphic design. So these are our techniques. We've got our system-focused ones, our customer-focused ones, and we combine them at the end with wireframes. One last comment, and then we'll stop for a morning tea, is non-functional requirements. For some reason, it always sticks in my brain as dysfunctional requirements. The non-functional requirements are the things that you want to tell your developer about your system that are actually not features of the software per se. So let me give you some example. How fast it needs to run, and under how many users it's going to have, and what you're expecting there. What browser versions it needs to support. These are not actually specific features, but these are things that you want to get clear. Is it going to work in mobiles, which is what we call being responsive? The website responds down to mobiles. And what are my hosting requirements? This is interesting. We've had jobs that we had really nice overseas hosting to serve really well, and then we found out they had to keep the data in Australia. And so knowing those things is important. Folks, this is the end of session 2.